Okay. Good afternoon, aloha everyone. This is the hearing notice of March 22nd, the 105 agenda for Monday in room 225. And this is a joint hearing on decision-making only agenda with regards to the Committee on Water and Land and the Committee on Agriculture. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the Water and Land Committee and the Committee on Agriculture will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 1:50 p.m. on Wednesday, March 24th in this room and on YouTube. A public notice will be posted on the legislature's website if this hearing is to be delayed. And for those of you on Zoom land, the testifier audio is muted and the video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. And for all testifiers, you will be allowed 2 minutes of your testimony. Members will proceed with the first items, and there's 2 actions. And this is on HB 469, House Draft 1, relating to the transfer of non-agriculture parklands. And members, today's agenda is a decision-making only. And so the chair at this time would like to defer this to Wednesday in room 229 at 1:45 p.m. And again, deferment as well. However, Chair Gabbard, is this agreeable with you for deferment?
Yes, Chair, and for AEN, we'll defer decision-making till Wednesday, March 24th at our virtual meeting at 1:45 p.m.
Okay, members, this is decision-making only. I'll also allow you if there's any comments. Okay, hearing none. Let's proceed to HB 237, House Draft 2, and this is relating to the invasive species. And members, this is an interesting one because there was a glitch in the voting of only that affected only the Water Land Committee that was on YouTube. And so we will need to revote this measure, and the recommendation for this which was AEN was the lead, and they did vote. This measure, as recommended by both chairs, was that 237, was to pass this measure with amendments, and the recommendation is to add in the $659,000 appropriation from the original version of the bill in both fiscal years for each Department of Agriculture, and to correct the effective date to July 1st, 2021. So this is a vote only for the Committee on Water Land. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair Agaran for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Secretary Zalutka?
Aye.
Secretary Revere?
Aye.
Secretary Favela?
Reservations.
Recommendation adopted.
Okay. Thank you. And just to add as well, any of our decision-making process, all the bills that are passed with a Senate Draft 1 will contain technical and non-substantive amendments. Okay, is it 106? AEN, I think it's your time.
Yes,
As
it is,
well.
Chair. Calling to order
I
the
did say
joint
145.
Agriculture
Oh,
Environment
okay.
Committee on Water and Land Decision-Making. 106,
Chair, can we, just to, let's see, I thought I did say 145 for Wednesday deferment of HB 469, and that's in this room on Wednesday, in room 229 at 1:45 PM. Thank you, Chair.
okay. So on the 106 agenda, we have one measure for decision-making, HB 247, relating to agricultural lands, amends certain land subdivision and condominium property regime laws related to ag land as recommended pursuant to Act 278 Session Laws of Hawaii 2019 to ensure condominium property regime projects within the agricultural district are used for agricultural purposes. And so members, this bill, it seeks to address the problem of fake farms across the state, which take up ag lands for gentlemen estates. And we passed the companion bill, SB 340, over to the House, but it had a triple referral. So HB 247 is the vehicle. And while the chair acknowledges DOTAX's points about the screening issues related to the GET tax form, this chair feels the GET is a simple, well-accepted official form to report business income, and that counties want an easy way to check off when reviewing applications for farm dwellings on ag lands. And also, this chair acknowledges the concerns that have been brought up about this bill's potential impact on small family farms and subsistence farms. So the chair's recommendation would be to pass HB 247 with amendments. On page 2, line 13, we'll remove the clause, quote, of no less than $10,000 a year, unquote, and the related proviso from the same page on lines 14 to 19 related to taxable ag income. And so this will address the concern about possible impact on small farmers. And then we'll also affect the date to July 1st, 2050. Just to keep the conversation going here, in case there's any changes that need to be made in Congress. Any discussion or concerns? Okay, so chair votes aye, Vice Chair Nishihara.
Aye.
Senator Ocasio,
Aye.
Senator Rhodes,
Aye.
Senator Favela,
Aye.
measure passes. Turn it over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. For the Water and Land Committee, Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 247 with amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Would all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. That concludes the 106 agenda. Joint thank adjourn.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon. We are on our notice of hearing time at 1:30 p.m. for the committees on Water and Land and the Committee on Government Operations. Is a joint regarding HB 1149. And just for some housekeeping announcements, this meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to the viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the Water and Land Committee and the Committee on Government Operations will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 1:50 p.m. on Wednesday, March 24th in room 229 and on YouTube. A public notice will be posted on the legislature's website if this hearing is to be delayed. And for those on Zoom land, the testify audio is muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. All testifiers have 2 minutes to speak today. We'll proceed then with HB 1149 HD1, and this is relating to land use, and it reorganizes and integrates the Land Use Commission within a modified Office of Planning, which is renamed as the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. It reclassifies the Coastal Zone Management Program and statewide sustainability branch as divisions within the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. Testifying for land use, Dan Orendecker. Are you there, Dan? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, chairs. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We stand on our written testimony in support and are available for questions.
Okay, we will allow to hear from Mary Ellis Evans, and then members will go into questions. Mary Ellis?
Good afternoon, Chairs Inouye, Moriwaki, Vice Chairs Keith Agaran and Dela Cruz. The Office of Planning supports the intent of HB 1149 and appreciates the amendments made in the HD1. And we understand that the introduction of this measure is in conjunction with HB 1318, which isn't being heard today, which would consolidate various government land use and environmental policy functions into a new structure with a focus on sustainable development. Thank you.
Okay, members for both committees, questions? Yes. Yes. Okay, Senator Revere.
Thanks. Hi, Mary Alice. I guess I could ask you, is this I see that it was introduced separate of, let's say, the governor's package. Is this a governor's initiative, or could you tell us a little bit of the background of why and how this has come to be here?
Yes, Senator, I'd be happy to. This is a legislative initiative. It was...
Mary Alice, can you speak louder or get closer to the mic, please?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
This is a legislative initiative. Our subject matter chair in the House, Representative Tarnas, approached both me and Dan and asked us if we would be interested in this concept. We said we would, and he asked us for suggestions. We both worked with him to come up with a bill that would be, we think, provide some synergy and be a good fit.
And what is, could you elaborate a bit on the synergies? What does it bring by bringing this together?
Well, land use planning balances a lot of different goals and objectives. The legislature, the executive branch, and stakeholders in the community. And by reorganizing us into a single entity, I think it'll improve our ability to communicate with all of those stakeholders and be able to move toward more sustainable development.
And then there's the, maybe for Dan, then the question is about a firewall. How do you keep people in their own realms without undue influence between the players?
Well, Senator, that's something that's actually pretty well practiced in law firms, other institutions. It's just a matter of making sure that people understand what their roles are and what the limitations are and who they talk to and what about.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, any other questions? Senator Moriwaki.
Yes, I think the concept is good. I think that, planning should be coordinated, and you have LUC and Office of Planning and DBED. My concern is that, that it doesn't come from administration, so we don't know how this is actually going to be implemented. So my question to both of you is whether you talk to the DBED director, to BNF, and to HRD regarding this reorganization. Mary
Well, your
Alice, I think
microphone,
you're-
can she hear you?
Huh?
Can
Can you hear?
Senator Milwaukee, I think I heard your question.
Oh.
I was having a little.
Oh, I wasn't in the microphone. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. All right. You didn't hear me? Oh, that was an easy question then. Sorry, I missed that too. Okay, hi. Mary Alice, I think you're in the hot spot on this. Since it is not an administration bill, I think that it concerns us that we legislate how the executive branch operates. So my question is, have you gotten approvals from the DBED director, BNF, and HRD in making sure that this complies with, I think there's also, if it complies with the way that administration really looks at functions and operations, because it is although a minor reorg, it is a reorg in the executive branch. So did you talk to the DBED director and there's approval?
So, Senator, thank you for the question. We informed the DBED director, the executive branch ledge coordinator of this measure, and so we have let everyone know who has a role in how the executive branch functions. So thank you, Senator, for the question.
And what was the response in that, Mary Alice? I mean, how are you going to proceed with this reorg? Because it has to do with functions as well as staffing and so forth in the reorg. How is it lined up to be executed?
We defer to the legislature on policy matters, and if it is the legislature's intent to help us improve our ability to plan in a sustainable fashion, then we will be able to proceed. Thank you.
And so some more questions in this. Continue. So I noticed that part of this is also, well, let me go back to Senator Revere's question. I see some language in here on a firewall, but it really concerns me that administering agency, like Office of Planning, is in charge of the resources that goes to LUC under it, and LUC is a decision maker in land-use planning, where the Office of Planning goes before it to present the state's case. So how strong is that language in the bill to address that concern? I mean, has the Attorney General's office been involved so that we're really sure that there is a firewall that protects the interests of those who come before the LUC, in contrast to Office of Planning submitting testimony in terms of any case that's before the LUC?
Senator, I did contact our Deputy Attorney General and discussed a firewall, and I'll defer to Dan on how that would impact his program as well. And I do believe in shared decision making, so I believe that Dan and I will be able to work out any resource allocation. Certainly the Land Use Commission needs additional resources and has been managing with less than optimal budget for a while. Dan, did you want to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I actually don't see much of a difference in changing over to OP. I actually see it as, even though OP is technically a participant in our hearings, I actually see it as more beneficial because, OP understands what we do and what resources that we need. The Department of Business and Economic Development has been very well intentioned in the past, but sometimes does not have a real grasp of how we operate. I am not in any way concerned that OP would use this position as approver of requests for resources to in any way influence the commission. I think that the commissioners would probably go public with something like that if it occurred. So I really don't have a concern.
I guess, Dan, what I'm asking is in the bill, which will become law if we were to pass this, is that the language is clear, because while I respect you and Mary Alice, and I think you guys are, very ethical, you know your job, professional, somebody else can come in your shoes, and it may be different if it's not clearly spelled out in law, because you do have a conflicting responsibility. You, a decision maker, and OP, a presenter of a case, one of the parties. So I just want to be sure that the AG was involved in looking at the language in the bill and making sure that that is clearly stated in law. That's all I'm asking.
Our AG was, the Land Use Commission's AG was, and they were satisfied with it. And also, putting on my attorney's hat for a moment, I think the language is sufficient. It has to be read in conjunction with Chapter 205 and Chapter 91 and Chapter 92, which all have prohibitions against ex parte communication with ex parte. So I personally, and based on the advice that I got, the comments that I got from our Attorney General, I think it's sufficient.
I have a question.
Yes, okay. Senator Algaran.
So Dan, usually HRS 26-35 governs the relationship between an agency that's administratively attached and one that's completely under a department. And one of the key things is that the head of the department doesn't get involved in the decision-making of a board or commission like the LUC. So I'm curious, because I don't understand the language on page 6 of the bill, section D. It reads, notwithstanding any law to the contrary, the commission shall be exempt from section 2635, with the exception of 2635A2, 3, 7, 8, and subsection B shall apply. So what applies to the commission? I don't understand how that reads.
I'm sorry, Senator Agaron, I don't have double screen capability right now, so I don't have the bill up in front of me. But my understanding of that particular section is that it in effect removes any control over various operations that the LUC has, as distinguished from paperwork and administrative matters, administrative control. But I would have to get back to you on that after I re-review it.
Senator, I think that gives both, it gives the Land Use Commission policy autonomy from the DBED director, because it is a board, and in section 8 of...
No, I understand that. I just think that the language on page 6 for section D just is pretty confusing about, because there's some double negatives in there about what applies and what doesn't. It's a lot clearer if you just say that, certain sections apply.
Chair Agaron, that was actually taken directly from Vice Chair Agaron. That was the language that's actually taken directly from the statutes that govern the Hawaii Tourism Authority. I wouldn't pretend that we can always do better, but that's where that language came.
All right.
Okay, any further questions? Yes,
I do,
your mic, you gotta go by the mic.
It also concerns me on the focus on the Office of Planning, if this is, the title here is relating to land use. So I do see the importance of trying to clean up the where Land Use Commission would sit in Office of Planning and the firewall, so to speak, in terms of that. But the other section 7, that relates to Office of Planning and looking at changing the name of the organization, including serving as a member of the governor's cabinet, it really kind of concerns me, because that is not our prerogative. It really is in the administration to provide that, and creating divisions as well. I think there is an executive administrative directive, if you would look at 1902, that actually says the pecking order of organizations within the administration, from division to branch to office. So putting a division under an office really does concern me. So I need to have some response to that from the administration as we go forward on this bill. Should we do that? So Mary Alice, you want to respond to that? Did you talk to BNF or HID on this?
We'll defer to the legislature on what kind of policy matters you want to include in the bill.
Yeah, it's Administrative Directive 19-02 on November 2019 to all department heads, policy and procedures for effecting organizational and functional statement changes. And it's under Governor Ige's signature.
Okay, I guess she's deferring to the legislature. Okay.
Okay, so that's,
Okay.
okay.
I have a question, and I think Mary Alice, under this new organization, on page 8, the section of line 8 to 15, and in B, what bothers me is on line 14, where it says that nor shall these functions be subject to review or approval by any other department. Can you say why that's added? Also, the question is then, so if the legislature wants to do an audit, would this language prevent the auditor from doing an audit?
No, Senators, I know you're aware the auditor has the statutory authority to look at anything,
So why was that language added then?
I'm not sure, Senator. I do know that the auditor can see everything, anything.
Okay, because you know that sentence, due to the inherently interdependent functions of development, planning, and land use, these functions shall not be transferred by executive order, directive, or memorandum to any other department, nor shall these functions be subject to review or approval by any other department, and that's questionable. Any other questions, members? I do want to add that, and I'm sorry, we did receive testimony from Craig Hawai'i, the Director of Budget and Finance. And since we're, I don't think, Mr. Hawai'i, were you able to get connected to us? And I'm sorry, there was a delay. But for the information regarding members of both committees, I don't think you have a copy of his testimony, but I'd like to read it into the record. The Department of Budget and Finance offers comments on House Bill HB 1147, House Draft 1,
Should be 49.
and this bill does the following: reorganizing and integrates a land use commission within an expanded Office of Planning, renames OP as the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. It's OPSD. Reclassifies the Coastal Zone Management Program and Statewide Sustainability Branch as divisions within OPSD. BNF has two concerns with this bill. The first concern relates to elevating the expanded OPSD to a quasi-department status by repealing subsection B in section 201-2 HRS, General Objective Functions and Duties of Department, that specifies that the Department of Business and Economic Development and Tourism shall have sole jurisdiction over LUC and state planning, and providing that the expanded OPSD has sole jurisdiction over state planning and that LUC is administratively attached to OPSD. Under current statutes, boards and commissions are currently attached to a, quote, principal department, unquote. The bill also directs that the director of OPSD shall serve as a member of the governor's cabinet. The governor's cabinet normally consists of the heads of, quote, principal departments, unquote, but in practice, various administrations have informally expanded the cabinet to include other designated state officers as the governor determines. The bill further redesignates organizational units within OPSD as, quote, divisions, unquote, in place of their previous designations as branches. In the state's current organizational structure, divisions are the major organizational units of principal departments, and branches are the major organizational units of attached boards and commissions. BNF is consulting with the Department of Attorney General to review legal issues related to creating a new, quote, quasi-department, unquote. BNF's second concern is establishment of OP's organizational structure by statute. BNF, as a matter of policy, is opposed to establishing the organizational structure of principal departments and boards and commissions by statute. Because circumstances, situations, and duties functions change over time, BNF strongly believes that the organizational structure within a, quote, principal department, unquote, and boards and commissions should be established administratively. Thank you for consideration of our comments. I have, I think, any more questions? Your members out there, any
Yes,
questions?
questions, members from the GVO committee? I see, who do I see? I see Senator Cabela. I saw Senator Gabbard. No.
Okay, shall we
Unmute, please.
unmute, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I had a question for OP, for Mary Alice.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that HB 1318 is a related measure, House Bill 1318, for the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, that it still has not been scheduled for an AEN Waterland GVO hearing. So I wanted your thoughts on that, since it's related, Mary Alice, on HB 1318. It added off OEQC to the setting up an environmental advisory council, correct?
I don't know if we can talk about that bill. I don't think it's not on the table, so I don't know if we can talk about it. You gotta tell him.
I'm hearing some.
Yeah, because he's not on the schedule.
Background, Senator,
It's
do you
gonna
want me
take
to
our
wait?
time. So-
Yeah, go ahead. I think they're finished.
Senator, thank you for the question. When
I'll
the
give you
House
the answer.
subject matter chairs approached Dan and myself, they suggested that the Office of Environmental Quality Control in the Department of Health would be better placed in the Office of Planning. And of course, that comes with an environmental council. So I did check with the Department of Health, and I checked with the chair of the environmental council, and they were not opposed to that transfer. They could see that there would be, that the Office of Planning could be a home for that program. So although it's not being heard today, you know, my view is that it is a compatible program for the Office of Planning.
Okay.
Dan, did you want to comment on that?
Excuse me, I'm going to cut the debate on Senator Gabbard, if you don't mind. HB 1318 is not on the agenda, and I have a full hearing additional for Waterland only, and I think we're getting to almost a close time for decisions as well.
That's fine, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, but thank you for at least recognizing that there is another measure which you are in the lead, Senator Gabbard. Any other questions with regards to HB 1149, House Draft 1? Okay, we're going to go into a decision making, so breakout room IT. And thanks. Good afternoon. The Committees on Water and Land and the Committee on Government Operations is going into decision-making on HB 1149 House Draft 1 relating to land use. We'd like to defer this measure for decision-making in room 229 at 1:50 p.m. And several of the measures as recommended that will divorce the section that's unrelated to the land use, where the Office of Planning sort of going into a reorg of the director's position. So we'd like to concentrate only on the land use portion in its relationship with OP. And there may be other, I guess, opinions that will come from Budget and Finance and the Office of Attorney General as well. And so we'll be deferring HB 1149, okay?
Wait, what date?
Okay, the date is March 24th, Wednesday, at 1:50 in room 229. Okay, that's it. That concludes the hearing for Committee on Water, Land, and Government Operations. And thank you, Chair, and members of the Government Operations as well. Okay. Okay. The Committee on Water and Land is going into its notice of hearing on Monday, March 22nd at the 1:45. We're just about 15 minutes late. And we have several items on the agenda, members. We'll try to work on this as fast as we can. HB 498 HD1 relating to aquatic resources. And this authorizes DLNR to use in lieu fee mitigation to restore, create, enhance, and preserve aquatic habitats or resources as compensatory mitigation. DLNR, are you on this one?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Inoue and committee members. This is David Sakota with DAR. We'll stand
Okay.
on our written testimony in support, and we can answer any questions the committee might have. Thank you.
Okay, for the committee info only, we do have another support received by the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. Any questions with regards to HB 498? Okay, seeing none, let's proceed then with SCR 102 and SR 79. And this authorizes the issuance of a perpetual non-exclusive easement covering portions of submerged lands at Mauna Lua, Oahu, Hawaii, for the construction and maintenance of a rock groin to slow the rate of sediment deposition in the entrance channel of Hawaii Kai Marina. Russell, are you on this one?
Yes, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Russell Psucci for the department. We submitted testimony in support and tried to explain as much as we could on this, the background on this submittal, this easement request. This project does have the approval of the Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands in hoping to alleviate the buildup of sediment at the entrance channel of this Hawaii Kai Marina, and also to assist some beach area, additional beach area at Port Lock Beach. The one thing I wanted to note from in our testimony is the second to the last paragraph. We did an appraisal for this easement, and it came out at $400,000. And the Hawaii Kai Marina Association has disputed that amount, and so we are now going to have to follow 17117, and there's a process to follow when an applicant for an easement such as this disputes the amount of consideration as determined by the state's appraisal. I'm available for any questions. Yeah.
Okay, but that has really nothing to do with having this measure move forward though, right?
Yeah, it's just a process we must follow.
Exactly. Okay, do you need SR 79?
Not if we get the concurrent resolution.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's fine. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, Senator Revere.
Thanks. Hi, Russell.
Hi.
Hi. So there's a dispute over the value, and that needs to be resolved. If that comes back in at, say, half that price or any other amount, that does not need to come back to the legislature then for approval? I mean, we're kind of approving whatever value you come to?
Yeah, because yes, in effect, it would be based on a fair market value as determined by, in accordance with HRS 17117, which is the governing statute, and it has a process in that section about when there is a dispute as to the state's appraised amount. Yeah.
So is there another appraisal that the marina will order? How will you resolve that? How does that process work?
Yeah, the process generally, as quick as I can make it, the association will then hire, they have appointed an appraiser, Bobby Hastings, Jr., and he's going to have to come up with a report. They're going to share the report with us. We'll be sending it over to our own appraiser and see if the two appraisers can arrive at an agreement. Short of that, if they're not able to agree, formally under 17117, it must go through first the mediation process, which is appointing a third-party mediator to help the parties try to resolve it. And if that is not workable, or at least the parties do not agree, then it will go on to binding arbitration by a third-party arbiter.
Okay.
So there is quite a lengthy process on this. Yeah.
So we're basically approving in principle, and you guys sort out the price, and away you go.
Right. In accordance with 17117 would be followed.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
right. Okay, then Chair's recommendation is to take off SR 79, and we'll work on the SCR as well. Okay, if there's no other questions, let's move along with SCR 113, and this authorizes the amendment of a term non-exclusive easement covering a portion of state submerged lands at Kapa'a, Kawauhau, Kauai, for construction of a groin and for small-scale beach restoration and for use, repair, and maintenance of the improvements constructed thereon. 113, Russell or Kurt?
Yes, Russell here. I apologize for not having written testimony on this one, but it's more like a formality. We are actually scheduled to go to the board on Thursday on an amendment to the prior approvals. This is, just to give you some background, this is another project that is kind of like in connection with a beach, small-scale beach nourishment project on Kauai. And so OCCL has reviewed it and they gave its blessing. What we're adding on Thursday is because of sometimes these easements do take a long time to process and ultimately, we didn't want to rely solely on a right of entry. So what we're doing, asking the board is, we're going to ask the board to approve a revocable permit in lieu of a right of entry, pay a rent, and as an interim measure pending the final disposition of a long-term easement, as well as amending the term to 25 years, limiting the term to 25 years, and also ask for a removal bond in case we're not successful in obtaining the legislative approval of their easement, which sometimes
So everything that's on this whereas remains the same then?
Generally, and there are some modifications, as I said, the area might change a little bit, but
Do I have-
it's primarily go back to the board for the additional conditions that we added.
Okay, do you want us to move this measure along as is?
Our intent is to, if we can get board approval on Thursday, to perhaps in our next committee submit testimonies suggesting revisions to
Oh, okay, all right.
amendments.
I think that's fair and make sure that it gets to WAM. Okay, any other questions, members? We got two more and then we'll go into decision-making. SCR 141, authorizing the issuance of a term non-exclusive easement covering portions of state submerged lands at Wailea, Maui, TMK 22-1-008 for beach access stairway purposes. Russ, are you taking this one as well?
Yeah, very simply, Chair and committee members, this also got reviewed by the Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands, and they're okay with the granting of the easement. And similarly, we'll be, in this particular case, there's a condition for a revocable permit pending the long-term disposition approval, as well as a removal bond in case the easement is not successful.
Oh, okay. Okay, Chair wants to just to add on SCR 113 that there were 7 other persons sending communication in support. We do have for SCR 141, 141, Wailea, Eluo, AO, Rory, is that you, Rory Frampton?
Yes, that's me. I'm a land use planning consultant. My name is Rory Frampton. I've been assisting the Wailea, Elua, AO with the process of this request, and I thank the department for their testimony, and the information in the reso and their testimony explains the situation. So
you're right. You're in support, yeah.
Yes, I'm in support and here available for any questions.
Okay. Thank you for your presence. Any questions with regards to SCR 141, members? Otherwise, we'll move along to SCR 227. And this is requesting the Department of Land and Natural Resources Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation to establish and formalize the Honokahau Small Boat Harbor Working Group. Ed Underwood or Megan, who's on today? I see Megan. Aloha.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. Megan Stats, Assistant Administrator for the department. The department appreciates the intent. We're going to stand on our testimony, but we do have some serious concerns regarding certain elements of this measure, and we're here for any questions.
Okay. I guess similarly that you testified in the Senate version as well, yeah, on a bill previously. Okay. Let's see. SCR 227. We do have testifying or sent comments by UPW Local 646, Dan Kochi members. comments only. Let's see. Okay, any questions up to now? Otherwise, IT, I think the Committee on Water Land would like to go into the breakout room for decision making. The Committee on Water and Land is going into decision-making of its Monday, March 22nd agenda that shows that we're supposed to meet at 1:45. Let's proceed with decision-making members. On HB 498, this is relating to aquatic resources. Chair's recommendation is that we pass with an SD1. We're going to replace the word "and" on page 2, line 13, with quote, "provided that," unquote. And we're going to defect the date to effective upon approval. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
With all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. SCR 102. And this is authorizing the issuance of a non-exclusive easement on the submerged lands at Mauna Lua, Oahu. And Chair's recommendation is that we pass with amendments with an SD1. There's technical and non-substantive amendments as well for purposes of clarity and consistency. Other than that, no other amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote is to pass SCR 102 with amendments.
All right, with 5 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Okay. SCR 113, and this is authorizing the amendment of a term for the non-exclusive easement, and this is covering the portion of state submerged lands at Kapa'a, Kawai, Kauai. And this, the Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure with an SD1, and it just with technical and non-substantive amendments. Any discussion on SCR 113? Hearing none, Vice Chair, Chair votes aye.
Okay, with 5 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Okay, SCR 141, and this is authorizing issuance of the term non-exclusive easement, and this covers the portion of the submerged lands at Wailea, Maui. Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure with an SD1 that includes technical, non-substantive amendments, and inserting a whereas clause stating that the grantee shall pay the state FMV of the easement as consideration of the use of state submerged lands to be determined by an independent appraisal. Any discussions? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
Okay, with 5 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. And the last item on the agenda is SCR 227. And this measure, Chair recommends that we defer this matter. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, members. We will see you on Wednesday. Oh, no, we do have, I think, tomorrow with Hawaiian Affairs. Okay, thanks so much. All right, this adjourns the Committee on Water and Land.